Hello and welcome back to Bookmark Chronicles. Today I am reviewing Arsenic and Adobo. This is book one in the Tita Rosie's Kitchen Cozy Mystery series. So if you've been around for a minute, then you know that my journey with Cozy Mysteries has not been good. However, that has changed. I actually really enjoyed this book, so much so that I am planning to continue the series, which has not happened with any cozy mysteries that I have read up to this point. So I'm super excited to talk about this book, all the things that I loved about it, and what I expect for the series moving forward. So in this first book, we're following Lila Macapagal, who works at her family's restaurant owned by her Tita Rosie. However, one day a food critic comes in. This food critic is known for bashing local family-owned restaurants, and he's also Lila's ex-boyfriend. So while he's there on this day, he's eating. He and Lila have a little bit of an argument going back and forth. Not anything super serious, but then he dies and face plants into his food. So the kitchen gets shut down. They're now under investigation and being accused of murder, and we follow their story from there. I enjoyed this so much more than I was expecting, and I think there may be a couple of reasons for that. First, I went in with very low expectations because of how my previous cozy mystery reads have gone, and so I kind of didn't really expect to enjoy it, but I was still really interested in this story. The other reason is because I really enjoyed the cultural element of it. Lila and her family are from the Philippines, so there's a lot of talk about food and culture and family and all of that, and that's not something I thought I needed in a cozy mystery, but apparently it is. On top of that, I actually like Lila. I have never liked the main character in any of the cozies that I read so far. The main character in The Plot is Murder was okay, but I'm actually rooting for Lila. I actually care about her. I care about what she has going on in her life, as well as the mystery that's happening, which is first. So if you're a fan of cozy mysteries, I highly recommend this book, especially if you enjoy reading about food, because there's a ton of that. Strong family dynamics, as well as a little bit of found family from her friends and people that she's known since she was a child. Also, the diversity in this book is something that I really appreciated. Obviously, Lila's family is Filipino, but we also have a Mexican character, a Daisy character, Black characters, and no, it's not forced. People of color actually exist, so it's nice to see all of these different cultures in one book instead of like there can only be one sort of diversity. So I really appreciated that too. There's also queer rep, which again, I appreciate because I feel like sometimes it's just like so hard to get that, and I really don't see why. Like, this book does a very good job of it. I originally listened to this on audio. However, there are a few things about the book that I want to draw your attention to, and all of these things are included in the audio. First is an author's note that talks about how some of the content could be triggering due to war on drugs and the way that the police force is portrayed. And then there is a glossary and pronunciation guide, which I think was really great. Helpful for non-Filipino people, which the author is not obligated to do that. So I thought that was nice. That's another reason that I like to listen to audio for things, so that I get the correct pronunciation. But there is a pronunciation guide in the beginning. And then, let me see. Yes, and then in the back there are some recipes. So I thought that was really cool. So again, if you like reading about food and if cozy mysteries with recipes is your thing, then this is definitely going to be a good one for you. So if you have not yet read Arsenic and Adobo but would like to, this is your official spoiler warning. So as always, I'll start with the characters, starting off with our main character, Lila. I really like her a lot. However, there are some times where I feel like she just doubts herself a little too much, and I think it's because of the way that other people have spoken to her and things that have kind of gotten into her head. And I get it. It's a little annoying at times, but I'm really interested to see how she grows throughout the rest of the series. As for her family, I love both Tita Rosie and Lola Flor, as well as the calendar crew. They can be a little annoying sometimes, specifically the calendar crew, just because like the old-fashioned your greatest goal in life as a woman is to be a wife and mother type thing is really fucking annoying, and the way that they make comments about Lila's weight is annoying. But I'm letting it go because I do know that it is a very common family dynamic within a lot of cultures, so it is what it is. Adina is Lila's best friend, and I really like her too. However, their dynamic in this one was a little weird for me because basically they need to be adults and have fucking conversations. Adina really wants the two of them to open a cafe together. It's been her dream. Adina works at the cafe next to the restaurant, and Leela keeps saying that she doesn't really want to stay in her hometown. She lived in Chicago for a little bit. She came back to help her family out, but she doesn't see herself staying there for a really long time. But instead of saying that to Adina, they kind of just like skirted around each other all the time, and then it ended up causing unnecessary friction between the relationship, which I just felt was so unnecessary. And then there's a scene kind of towards the end where I'm all about being a little petty here and there, but when it comes to your best friends, like there's got to be a limit, and they were just being ridiculously, like, sort of disgustingly petty towards each other, and it really irritated me. But we'll see how things go moving forward. Amir is Adina's brother, who Leela apparently has had a crush on since the beginning of time. It is clear that there is some sort of connection between the two of them. However, it's giving I can't because that's my best friend's brother vibe, and I don't like that. I think it's weird. Also, everybody here is grown, so if y'all gonna do something, do it. Detective fucking Park. Oh, I cannot stand this man. He is one of the reasons that I did not give this book as high a rating as I fucking wanted. I feel like he was gunning for Leela, and he had no reason to, really, and he kept saying, oh well, I'm just doing my job. No, you're fucking up somebody's life right now. I'll talk more about this later, but I also feel like he has a thing for Tita Rosie, so I feel like he's gonna be around for a little bit. But it's annoying. Like, oh my god, I wanted Leela to slap the shit out of this man so badly. Dr. J, Detective Park's brother, who was also interested in Leela. I really like him, and typically I don't really like when there's a romance in my cozies because it's always like a weird dating the cop sort of situation. So I like that it's not necessarily that. However, I'm getting hints that there may be a love triangle between Leela, J, and Amir, and I really hope there isn't. So then there's the food critic, Derek, who ends up dying, and I fucking hate him. Honestly, like, the way he's been described throughout the entire book, I really don't understand what Leela saw in him, and I get that they dated in high school or whatever, but, like, the fact that he didn't want her to go to Chicago because he felt like she was leaving him behind, and basically, like, he was trying to hold her back, and the way that he kind of has a vendetta against her before it, and, like, it was a weird, I'm not over you, so I'm gonna destroy your life type thing, which is why he was critiquing the restaurant so harshly, which is fucking weird. It's fucking weird. Like, he creeps me the fuck out. And frankly, I'm not mad that he's dead, so, you know. So the day that he dies, he's sitting in the restaurant, he's eating, like, stuffing his face, cleaning his plate, but also he always has some sort of critique about, like, how their food is and saying that it's not good, but he keeps going back and cleans his plate every time. And honestly, because it is a Filipino restaurant, felt a little racist, so did not enjoy any of that. Glad that he will not be in any more books moving forward. So Derek was eating at the restaurant with his stepfather, who owns the building that they are leasing for the restaurant, right? And there's mention that he's like tried to run them out a few times, so already weird vibes, red flags, right? So then Derek passes out or whatever, and the stepdad, his name is Mr. Long, he accuses them of murdering him. From the beginning, the whole thing felt super suspicious. I immediately assumed that he was the one to kill Derek. I was wrong, but I wasn't too far off. So then it was revealed that they did find traces of arsenic in Derek's food, which apparently rice does contain small amounts of arsenic or something like that, and it can build up over time, but the levels that they found in his body were like super high levels, whatever. But that's not even what he died from, which we'll come back to that. So then there's one scene where the detective finds a bag of rice, and they were like, oh, we tested it and we found high levels of arsenic. And Leela's explaining, like, oh, that's weird because when we open a bag of rice, we put it in a storage container. We don't typically leave it in the bag. Plus, the dessert that Derek had that had rice in it was a different type of rice than was found in the bag. And, like, that information doesn't really get addressed. And I was like, bro, like, do your fucking job. Like, piss poor detective work. I could have solved this fucking murder quicker than he had by using basic common sense. So then, out of nowhere, a bag of fucking drugs and money is found in Leela's locker, and Detective Park accuses her of being this, like, kingpin. And I'm like, how did you come to this conclusion? Because then he's like, oh yeah, well then you must have known that Derek was a drug dealer and that he turned informant and all this other shit. And it's like, she literally knows none of that. You're literally revealing all of this information to her as you're accusing her, and it really didn't make any sense. Plus there was like a little fiasco back in Chicago with her ex-boyfriend. Hasn't had the best taste in men so far, if you can tell. But something about him owning a restaurant, and a side note, he used to always talk down on her and say that she wasn't as good as him or that she would never make it, whatever. But he had put something in her name and something about smuggling that she got wrapped up in, so she has like a little bit of a record, even though like obviously she didn't serve any time because she didn't do anything wrong, but he kept throwing that in her face. It was weird. Another thing that I really fucking hated about Detective Park is that at one point he tells Layla like, oh, you're not doing a good job taking care of your aunt, like this is really hard for her, like you need to be there for her, da da da. First and foremost, bitch, you're the reason that she is having a hard time. On top of that, you're the one that is accusing Leela of murder, of being a drug dealer, and all this other shit. Like, so on top of trying to help hold her family together, she's also dealing with some personal shit. Like, y'all arrested her. Like, what do you mean? Like, it was just so fucking ridiculous and out of fucking line. Like, he absolutely had no right. Like, you're literally causing all of their problems, and you have the audacity to say you're not handling this well enough. Like, what? That's like me going up to somebody, punching them in the face repeatedly, and then they're like crying and shielding their face, and I'm like, you're not handling this very well. The fuck? So I didn't really mention this person, but Adina, who works at the coffee shop next door, is called Java Joe's. Her boss's name is Kevin. It turned out, like, it gets revealed like slow, like little pieces throughout the book. The book's not too long though, so don't worry about that. But Kevin is the one who killed Derek because Kevin took over the coffee shop after his sister, the previous owner, OD'd. Where'd she get her drugs from? Derek. Kevin didn't feel that Derek was remorseful about it, and he wanted revenge, so he killed him. I did not see that coming, so cool. That was a good twist. Little side character that I did not suspect or think anything of at all. Love it. And then I guess like a little past halfway, Mr. Long also ends up dead, and I knew immediately that his wife had killed him. I thought it was because she found out that he killed her son, but since it was Kevin, Mr. Long was kind of in on it though, and he didn't do anything to try to help Derek while he was choking and when he passed out, which is another thing that was revealed later. But they end up finding him with a knife in his chest, and I was like, oh yeah, the wife did that for sure, 100%, and I was right about that one. So in the end, Leela ends up being given the deed to both the restaurant and the coffee shop, and so it looks like her and Adina will start their business together after all. So I had some likes and dislikes. Obviously, I did end up rating this 4 stars, and there were reasons why I didn't give it a full 5 stars. So my dislikes were mostly characters or character interactions. Derek, Mr. Long, Detective Park, and then there was a lot of pettiness between grown-ass women, which was so fucking unnecessary. There was the whole thing with Leela and Adina. There were also 2 other people from high school that Leela has known for a really long time that were just really fucking petty for no reason. Janet, who was a doctor, and it was because Leela had dated her fiance back in high school. Who the fuck cares? And then Bernadette. I don't remember what the beef between them was, and eventually all of that gets reconciled though. So I think that I'm going to at least enjoy the second book, Homicide in Hollow Hollow, as much, if not more, because all the things that I dislike have pretty much been eliminated. Derek is dead. Mr. Long is dead. All the pettiness has been resolved. Detective Park, I'm sure, will still be around. However, I hope that in the second book, he's not again trying to accuse the Makapagal family of murder or some dumb shit. Plus, I know he's going to be around because he has a thing for Tito Rosie. So I'm just hoping he is better as a character moving forward. As far as things that I did like, the family dynamic, obviously, well, mostly. Aside from the few, you have to get married, you weigh too much, that bullshit, Really love the family dynamic. I love that they were always there for each other. The way that as soon as something happened, people were already on their way, ready to help, ready to do whatever they could to help them out. Really love that. In addition to that, the friendships. A lot of times friends came by to help out. Like at one point, the restaurant gets trashed and pretty much everyone they know and have known for a really long time decided to come over and help them out. So that was really cool. And then of course, to pay them back, they made everyone dinner. And so it was like a good family sort of gathering, and that was really cool. The food, of course, listening to the descriptions of it made me hungry. And I'm not a huge baker, so the recipes in the back are mostly pastries, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to attempt to do that because I feel like I probably wouldn't do a good job anyway, but I'm loving the food aspect. And surprisingly, I didn't hate the romance. Like I said, I don't love that it feels like there's going to be a little love triangle, but I really like the chemistry between Leela and Jay. That's my OTP. I really fucking hope the two of them end up together. Not that I dislike Amir, it's just like the whole, oh, I can't because he's my best friend's brother, like y'all aren't grown. I'm not feeling it. So I really do hope that Leela and Jay end up together. Well, I guess that'd be a little weird if also Tita Rosie and Detective Park end up together. I don't know, either way, we'll see how it goes, but I didn't hate the romance so far. I did hate that there was like a moment with Jay and Amir where they were kind of having a pissing contest, and I was like, bro, what? Especially because Amir could have made a move forever. Like Jay and Leela literally just met, so I don't know, we'll see. But like I said, 4 stars. I will definitely be continuing the series. I already bought the second book, so I'm super excited to continue. Let me know if you have read Arsenic and Adobo or if you plan to. Otherwise, that's all I have for you today, and I'll see you in the next video.